All right, perfect. So we are live, we are recording. So what I'd love to hear from whoever would like to share, and you guys can either drop it in the chat. If you want to type it, you're welcome to do that. You can also just unmute yourself and let me know. But today we're talking all about your listing presentation. So I want to hear from you. If we were building out the perfect listing presentation, what are some items that you would want to have in that listing presentation? So again, you can just unmute yourself and throw it out there. You can drop it in chat, whatever you're comfortable with. But what would you like to have? What are some items you'd like to have in there? Let's see what you all come up with. All right, so what do you guys have? I don't see anything in chat. Anything that you would like in your listing presentation?
I'll go, Cindy. I had a question from one of the agents that's new. Hey, happy belated birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much.
I had a question from one of the agents about CMAs and incorporating those into listing presentations. So I guess that would be a starting point. Is there a good tool for that in designs or somewhere else?
Okay. Love that, Maggie. Yeah. So that's a great thing. So we would probably want a CMA in there and probably the best practices of doing that. So I love that. Okay, perfect. You guys are dropping some great things in chat. So let's see, we've got market data, company statistics, the listing process. So kind of what happens from when you're first taking the listing to when the listing goes under contract, and then even after. Data to properly price the home. So comp, speaking to that CMA, is obviously really important. A section for area market conditions. So specifically what's happening in that neighborhood or in that market might be really important. Elizabeth, I love that you're working on yours right now, looking at market stats. Why choose me? Why choose Keller Williams? I love that. And then Paul, you want to have a section for your personal statistics. So you know your numbers. So that's fantastic. So being able to add that is really great. Okay, awesome. So those are some great things. So understanding highest and best offers, that's important, Tammy, too. Do most of you, when you go to a listing appointment and you're bringing a listing presentation, just by a raise of hands of those of you that I can see, or you can use the little icons, who brings a paper listing presentation? So you bring something that is actual tangible paper with you. Okay, great. So I see some hands. Maybe it's bound, it's paper. Okay, perfect. And then also by a show of hands, who brings something that is electronic? So you might bring it on a laptop or an iPad. Does anybody do that? Okay. Who's never going to raise their hand, whatever I ask you guys? All right. So that's the cool thing with what we have in designs, which is what we're going to talk about today. You can completely customize it. So what I'd like to go through with you all today is the best way to customize your listing presentation. The intention of this is that you essentially have like the foundation of your listing presentation template, so that as you're making your phone calls and someone says, you know, we're hearing that it might be a seller's market right now, we just keep hearing there's low inventory. We're kind of toying around with the idea of maybe putting our home on the market. That then the only work that you have to do are the comps or the CMA for that area. We want you to have everything done, your bio, your about you, all of these different things. So you're not having to go in and recreate the wheel every time for that. So that's what we're going to go through today. Paper, and would love to have an electronic version. Okay, so we'll talk about both of those. I love that. Pre-listing package idea. Yep, we've got some good resources for that as well. Okay, perfect. All right, you guys, so we'll go through all of this. I love these ideas that you're all coming up with. Does anybody have any questions just before we dive right in and before we get started? We're good? Okay, so again, I'm Sydney Seymour. I'm the regional technology trainer for the Carolinas region. So I get to serve alongside with you guys every day in your market leadership. So I'm really excited to be here with you and to go through the listing presentation with you in Command InDesign. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to move relatively slow. So it's up to you You all know how you best learn. So if you want to actually have Command pulled up and go through this with me as we go through it, you are more than welcome to do that. I will definitely move slow enough to do that. If you prefer to maybe take some notes or do something like that and then come back on your own and do it that way, that's up to you as well. And if you guys have any questions, I'm leaving the chat open. I just have a second monitor over here, which is why I keep looking over here. So I'm leaving the chat open. So if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand or drop it in chat, and I'll make sure that I'm paying attention to that. So everybody good? We're ready to rock and roll and get started? Okay, awesome. All right, so give me 1 second. I'm just going to share my screen here. And we are going to dive in and go into Command. So if someone can just give me a thumbs up if you're able, can you guys see my Command screen here? Okay, awesome. Good. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. All right, so I am going to turn on, I have a little mouse halo that I think just allows you to kind of see a little bit easier just where I'm going. So I've logged into Command, which if you're new to Keller Williams or you don't use Command a ton, that's fine. You're going to get into Command by just going to agent.kw.com. So agent.kw.com. You are going to have a username and a password that's going to give you access into that. And so Command is your platform where you can manage all of your business from the nurture or the cultivate phase into closing and beyond. So post-closing. So this is like your one-stop shop for you to be able to manage your business. So today we're going to talk about the listing presentation. We're going to talk about how to create the listing presentation. We're going to talk about some best practices for the listing presentation. And even like, I'll give you guys a little bit of a pro tip that I like for just using some pages, not for the listing presentation, but just kind of getting your message out there to potential sellers. So we'll definitely go through that too. And then answer any questions or just chat a little bit about anything that you guys need help with. So again, when we log into Command, which we're just going to get to that by going to agent.kw.com, over on the left-hand side of the page, we've got all the different applets that we can go through and explore in your Command platform. So what we're going to do today is we're going to design a listing presentation. We're going to work on a marketing piece. And so anytime that you need to create something marketing-wise, that's going to be available about like 70% down on the page on the left. We're going to go into designs, which if you have this window open, it will say designs. If you don't, it looks like a little paintbrush on a square. So we're going to go in and we're going to actually design the listing presentation here. So we're going to click on designs. And while that loads, I just would love to hear from you guys. And again, you can either unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. Has anybody actually used designs to create a listing presentation in Command? Has anybody done that at all? No? Okay. That's why you're here, right? So give me 1 second.
You said if we have already created one?
Yeah. Have you ever used it, Jamie?
I have.
You have? Okay.
I tried it for the first time this past Sunday.
Okay.
I didn't realize though is that you have to take the template and select which pages you want.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is this thing not working? I was like, but it did look really professional, and I was impressed with it. So.
Oh, good, Jamie. I love that. That's great feedback. Thank you. And yeah, you're so right. Just kind of having that pick and choose for the pages is a little bit confusing at first, but I think once you get the hang of it, it's actually really nice. So I love that you've kind of jumped in here before and taken a look at that. Thanks for letting us know that. So when we jump into design, so again, all we did to get here so far is we just clicked on the little paintbrush over here on the little square. You might notice that you might not have anything here under your design templates. That's okay. So if you've never created anything in designs, then when we want to create a new design, all we're going to do is click on the plus sign in the circle at the bottom right down here. So the way that I kind of think of Command, this is like a greenish kind of tealish color to me. So if you just follow the green or follow the money or follow those icons, it's going to lead you down the path of what to do in each applet of Command. So again, all we did so far is we went into designs, and now we're going to click that plus sign in the circle down here at the bottom right. And once we do that, it's going to ask us what type of design do we want to create. So this is where you can create email designs, you can create social media designs, so you can create things for stories on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or Facebook. You can create videos. You can even import PDFs. So if you have a flyer or something that you've used previously that you wanted to import and be able to go in and switch out photos and text, you could do all of that here as well. What we're going to go through today is the listing presentation. And the listing presentation is a print material. So just think of that, it's a multi-page material, which is why we consider it a print. It's almost like a booklet that we're going to go through. So to choose that, we're just going to click right on the print square. You see it kind of highlights that square around it. And then we're just going to click on the next button down here at the bottom. And that's going to take us into the menu where then we can choose any of the items that we would like to go in and customize and then print or download to be able to use for our business. So you'll see once that loads, they've done a really nice job of kind of breaking down where each of these design templates live. So they've really broken it down based off of your business. We're not going to go through all of them today because we're just going to spend some time talking about the listing presentation. So it makes sense that for us to find the listing presentation, we're just going to click on the menu over here on the left that just says listings. So again, if you're taking notes, all that we've done so far is we've clicked on the designs applet once we're in command, which looks like the paintbrush. We clicked on the plus sign at the bottom right, and then we chose that we wanted to create a new print material. We just clicked next after that. And then that takes us to this screen where we're going to click on the listings menu, and then we'll see all of these options. What we're going to go through today is the listing presentation, which is about halfway down that menu under listings. So we're just going to click on the listing presentation, and then all of the options that we have will pull up right there. So I'm just going to pause there for a second and just make sure, do we have any questions so far? Yeah, so I've created a presentation on Publisher. I was wondering if there's a way to pull some of the slides I created in Publisher and add them to the presentations in Command. So that's a great question, Reagan. You can't pull in actual like slides or anything like that, but we could go in and completely customize any of the pages here to have them mirror what you have in Publisher for that. So any questions from anyone just on getting to this point so far? I want to make sure we're all comfortable with this. All right, looks like we're good. So we're going to move on, and now we're going to decide which listing presentation template do we want. Now, I don't know about all of you, but I'm a big fan of working smarter, not harder. So you've got 5 different options here of listing presentations that you can pick from. Don't go through and customize all 5 of them. So just go through and take a look. You can walk through each of them. The content that is there for the most part is always going to be the same. I will tell you the 3 newest ones are the first 3 that show up. And really the content is the same. If we hover over it, we'll see that we've got like different names for them. Some of them are more traditional, more classic. Some of them are more modern. The other difference is that these 2 are the older ones. Not that there's anything bad in there, but they have less about your consumer app and selling safely during COVID and different things like that. So the first 3 that you're going to see are the newest ones that we have. Now, just a note, we want to pay attention. If we're going to be printing it, then let's take a look at, when we look at these, what is the background look of each of these? What I mean by that is if we're knowing that we want to print it every single time, I don't know that I want to pick this one over here because almost every single page of that is a completely black background, and that's just going to use a ton of printer ink. If we were doing it electronic, it might not matter as much, but just take some different things into consideration. But I am a big fan of saying, this is my one listing presentation. This is the one I always use for every single listing presentation. Let's not make ourselves go in and create 5 different ones. So I'm going to pick either 1, 2, or 3. I will defer to all of you to make this decision. So if you're following along, just drop in chat. Which one do you like? Do you like 1? Do you like 2? Or do you like 3 based only off of the first page? That's all that we're looking at. All right. So I've got a 2. I've got a 3. I've got a 2. I've got a 3. Somebody has to be a tiebreaker here. Another 2, 2. All right, it looks like 2 might be the winner, so we're going to do that. But again, 1, 2, and 3 are really going to have the same sort of content. So just exactly as we're going to go through together today, just take a look at the other ones and see which one you prefer. And then let's just build out off of that one. So we're going to do 2. And so when we decided, okay, this is the one that we want to use, you'll see that when we hover over it, we get this red little bubble up here at the top right that says use. So this is the listing presentation that we want to use. We're just going to click right on that, and then we're going to give it a moment to load. And Jamie brought up a really great point earlier when she was saying that on Sunday she went in and was taking a look at the listing presentation. The way that I think of it is this way. Keller Williams marketing team has created an entire listing presentation for you that is about 27 to 30 pages, just depending on the one that you're using. That doesn't mean that you need to use all 27 and 30 pages. In fact, I recommend that you actually don't use all of the pages. You just go through and pick and choose which pages are best for you. So they're essentially saying, here are all of the pages that you could use, and here is your built out template that you're going to use for your business. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to actually go through and we want to decide, okay, for this listing presentation template, which pages do we want to pull out? So you'll see that over here on the left, we have all of the page options that we could pull over, and I'll go through all of these with you. Over here on the right is our actual presentation. So if I were to download this right now, I would have nothing in my presentation because I haven't added anything over to it. So again, like the first page over here just says listing presentation template. I probably don't want that in my listing presentation. So I'm not going to add that page. The second page right here are the instructions for you. So if you wanted to click on this to take a look at it and to read the instructions, you could do that just by clicking directly on it. It tells you here are the instructions for it, but I don't necessarily need to add this to my listing presentation. So we are going to go through and actually pick the pages that we're going to add. For the sake of time, I'm not going to add all of them, but we'll kind of hit on what each of these pages offer for you. So the first page right here is the client name. So if I want to add this page to my presentation, you'll see that once I hover over the page here on the left, I've got the plus sign right here. And next to that, it says add a new page. So if I just click directly on that, it's going to take that page. It's going to add that page to my presentation. So now I have this page directly here. What I recommend doing is actually going through building out your listing presentation first. So dropping in the pages that you want to use in this, and then we'll go back and customize it together. So let's build out the listing presentation first, then we'll come back in and we'll make any changes that we want.
Caroline.
Yeah, question.
Hey, I'm sorry, I got your name wrong.
No, please.
I did not see the plus sign to add that.
So if you just click right on the page, it should also add it that way. So if you hover over it and don't see the plus for some reason, if you just click on it, it should add it that way for you too.
Okay.
Make sure, what browser are you using? Are you in Chrome or do you know?
I am.
You are? Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tammy. So you're doing the right browser. But yeah, just by clicking on it, it should bring it over that way as well.
Okay.
Great question. So the next page that we've got is just kind of like a table of contents almost. I'm not going to bring that one over, but if you guys wanted to, you can. The next page that we have talks about the home itself. Now, this is a nice page that speaks about the home, and we would obviously want to go in and make our changes or make our edits. However, you are all probably using a really great CMA program where you're going to go in and you're going to enter the address, and then it's going to pull details of comparable properties and all of these other things. So I don't know that we need to necessarily take the time to pull this page in where we're then writing details about the property, because the CMA is probably going to do a fair amount of that for us. So I'm actually going to skip right over that one. I am going to add the next one, which is the one that looks like a little neighborhood. They're always going to have Barton Hills. So we're just going to click the plus sign to add that page. And then again, we're just going to add the pages first, and then we're going to come back and we're going to make any changes that we want specifically to this. Now, the next Yeah, it's one page. Okay, great. So the next page right here says comparable properties. So what I want you to remember is that Command is a national platform for every single associate in Keller Williams. So there are a lot of associates in Keller Williams that don't have a CMA program that you guys might use. So they essentially have to go in and kind of build out their custom CMA here by manually saying, here are the recent solds, here's what's pending, here's what's active in your area. I don't believe that you need to do that because you probably have some sort of CMA program that you're using that will essentially build out the CMA for you. Then we're just going to add that CMA to this presentation. So if you wanted to go in and say, okay, no, I want to do this manually, you could do that. However, I want to save you time. So I don't really see the need for you, if you have a CMA program that you're using, to pull this comparable property flyer in. All right, the next page is all about the seller. And so it says your needs come first. We are going to add that page. So we're just going to click on the plus sign and we're going to drop that page into it. And I'm going to move just a little bit quicker as far as adding pages, just so we can get through all of these. Somebody mentioned in the chat that they might want to have some sort of process of like how the full listing process works. This is a really great page for that. It's just called the process. So we're going to add that one into there as well. Then we go right into your custom marketing plan. I'm going to add that page. So again, I'm just going to go in and add pages relatively quickly, so then we can go into the editing together for that. So we're going to talk about your custom marketing plan, because we know that something that's really important to sellers is for their home to stand out in the market. So we're going to talk about marketing. The next page is about finding your buyer. So I mentioned previously that I like the listing presentation for a listing presentation, but I also like just the little pages that we have that we could use for marketing purposes. So this is a really nice thing of finding your buyer, where it shows how buyers find their home. Number one is internet. Number two is real estate agent. We don't see for sale. Okay, directly from sellers is like this tiny little piece of the pie, right? So this is a really, really great page to use as a one and done marketing piece for sale by owners. So if you just took this page and added your contact information to the top of the page or the bottom of the page and said, you know, hey, this is just a resource that I have that I share with all my sellers of how people are finding homes in today's market. Just wanted to drop this off to you so that you are well equipped to know how to best market your property, right? So just these little things that we can use not only at the listing presentation, but how can we use these in little marketing pieces as well? So we're going to keep going. We've got best in class promotional assets. This talks about marketing. And the reason why we spend so much time talking about this is because on that finding your buyer section, the two ways that buyers find the homes are internet and marketing and the real estate agent. So the listing presentation here is built to back that up and to show all of the great marketing that you are going to do as their real estate agent. So we've got some really nice, just little like kind of stock images of the marketing pieces that you guys have here. We've got in the next section here, we've got a media plan. I love this. So we're going to add that as a new page and we'll go back through all of these. I'm just adding pages together. The next section is the strategic promotion. So this really leans into marketing. And so we talk about a just listed flyer. We talk about postcards. We talk about a property brochure. We talk about all these different things that you're going to do. We're going to go through and talk about how to edit these. But if you think I'm not going to do a just listed postcard, that's fine. We can take this out of this page. So again, they're just going to have suggestions for you. We can come back at any time and change this that we want to. Then we're going to add, let's see, well, I'm going to skip just a little of these. We've got an open house strategy that's really nice. So we can drop that in. Again, every market's kind of different as far as open houses. So that's where, depending on how you're doing that, we can add that or not add it. We've got a nice page of it's all in the details. So just some things that you're going to do differently as their agent as far as marketing the property and getting that home sold. And then we go into the glamour page about you. And so we talk about you as their agent and the real experience, the real expertise. So we're going to add that. The next page that we're going to talk about is the proof is in my numbers. So I want everybody to know that you can go to your Market Center leadership if you don't have numbers yet. Maybe you're new to real estate or you haven't been tracking your numbers. And if you don't know your numbers, go to your Market Center leadership team. So go to your MCA or go to your team leader or go to your agent services, whoever it might be, and ask them for the numbers of your Market Center, because they are going to track all of the numbers. And so they're going to be able to share with you how your Market Center is outpacing the market, meaning we are selling homes quicker than XYZ, right? Or our listings taken is up X percentage. So they're going to have these numbers for you every single month that you can come in here. And if they're not your personal numbers, they're your Market Center numbers, and you can add those as well. The next page just talks about credentials and awards. So again, if you have those, and also I think it's important to remember that people do business with people that they know, like, and trust, which is not necessarily a real estate robot. So if you're involved in local charitable organizations, if you have kids that go to the schools in the community, like, write everything about yourself here personally as well. It doesn't just have to be the number of years that you've been in real estate and the number of homes that you've sold. It can be things that are specific to you personally and yourself for that. We also have a nice page that talks about leading the industry, which talks about some Keller Williams achievements. So we would definitely want to add those as well. And then we get into a lot of pages that you are probably going to skip. So you'll see over here, we have your portfolio of excellence. So if you're not using a CMA program and you need to come in and manually build out a CMA, they've kind of just done this with this layout. Also, this is really good. Let's say that you're going up for a listing in a specific neighborhood and you've listed 5 homes in that neighborhood and you've sold all 5 of them. This is where we would put that achievement in here, right? And again, if you don't have those numbers and your Market Center does have those numbers, reach out to your Market Center leadership, reach out to the agents in your Market Center that sold those properties or that represented the seller, and ask them, like, hey, do you mind if I say that our Market Center sold this one? So we always want to get approval of that. But imagine like how much this could show to the seller if you had, I've sold all 6 of these homes in this market, right? So if we don't have that yet, that's fine. Let's just leave it out. The seller is never going to know what page you were supposed to have in your listing presentation and what you weren't. So just know that these are here. Maybe put them on pause for now. Then we get into a page down here, which is called a promise, which is really nice. So just kind of a promise to you as the seller. So we're going to add that page. And then we get into a new page that I really, really love, and it is called Selling Safely. And so this is something that Keller Williams added as we started to see that home buying and even, listing a property might be a little bit different with everything going on as far as virtual showings, socially distant tours, all of those different things. So we can actually take that and add that page here as well. Then we get to the bottom line, which is just really kind of a promise of you, their agent, to them again. And then we do talk about the consumer app. So my app, the seamless way to sell. So I really love that. So we're going to add that page here as well. And then we've got a final page here. If you are doing this as a booklet, so if you were printing this out and leaving this with the sellers, I do recommend that you add this last page because it's just a nice kind of bookend. It's just, here's how you can get in touch with me, and it's your contact information. If you are doing this electronically, I don't really believe that we need to have this at the end. It's completely up to you. So whatever you guys want to do as far as customizing that. So I'm just going to pause there for a second because I know that was a lot all at once. So are there any questions from anyone on just adding the pages that we want to add into this before we actually dive in and start making any changes? We're good. Okay, perfect. Okay, good. Here's what I do recommend. See up here at the top right where it says Untitled Design. We're going to click on that. We're going to rename this. So even though I'm not done with this, I'm still going to come up here and I want to rename this. And so I'm going to call this March listing presentation. You guys are the only ones that will ever see what this is named, but just name it something that you know, like, oh, that's my, my template for my listing presentation. That's everything I want to do. And then over here on the top left, we've got the home button, we've got file, we've got version history. If I click on file, there's a really important button right here. So we want to make sure that our auto save is on. By default, this is going to be checked, but we just want to make sure you never went in there and unchecked it. What that means is as we're making any changes, this is going to be saving to that. I still just never like to lose any work. So I'm a big fan of clicking on this file button and then just clicking on that first option right there that says save, and then just seeing that real quick saving. And then I get that confirmation right up here that this has saved. So just a nice thing as you guys are going in there. Yeah, Jamie, I lost my stuff by accident. Use auto save. Yeah, I know. And then trying to recreate it, Jamie, or what did I write? We never remember it as well, right? So just use that auto save, make sure that's turned on, but I still like to hit that save button. So before we go in and we start to make any changes, I just want to point out a couple really great buttons at the bottom of the page. So at the bottom of the page, we've got this section right down here that says pages, and it's got a little arrow that's going to point up. These are all of the pages that I've added to this presentation. So let's say that I got a little too happy with the keys and I added a page that I didn't want, or I added the same page multiple times. I can come in here and I can hover over that page. I can click on the little arrow down and I can do a couple things. I can duplicate the page. So if I'm like, oh, I want that page duplicated and I'm going to change the second one, but I like the layout of it, I can do that. I can also delete the page. So if I don't need this page in mine, I can just click on the trash can right there and it's going to actually get rid of that page for me. I can also do that with multiple pages over here, however I want to do it. The other little buttons that I like down here, it allows me to just like kind of easily scroll from page to page to take a look at that. And then if your eyes are like mine and we need to make this larger, we've got a really nice zoom in button at the bottom right that allows us to see all of that as well. So I'm going to click on the page button because I want to actually just jump back to that first page and go into that to make any changes. So give me 1 second. We're going to go back to, I'll kind of start, let me think of a page that I want to update with you guys. Because it's going to be the same editing, no matter what page you're going in and changing. So we'll actually start with this one, real expertise, our real experience, real expertise right here. And again, I'm going to make this just a little bit larger so that we can come in here and see what we need to change. So all of these you'll see are text boxes. So essentially what you're going to do is just go page by page and make any changes that you want to in this master listing presentation so that we've got this. So then when we want to make any changes to it, we can do that. So I might want to make sure like this is not accurate information about me. So I want to change all of this in the text box right here. So you'll see that if I double click on the text box, I get a lot of options up here. Now you can come here directly into the text box and you can make any changes in the text box right here. But what I'm a big fan of is this really nice typewriter tool up here. So again, I have to have double clicked on the text box to see all of the options up here. But if I hover over this, it says typewriter, and then it's going to actually open up everything that is in that text box right here. So it's super nice because I can actually just come in here if all of this is incorrect and I just want to put my bio, we're just going to put, and you can even copy and paste into this. So I love that typewriter tool. I just think it makes it a little bit easier to manage all of that. And then we just want to make sure that we always hit that save changes right here. And then that text box completely changes to whatever we wrote into that. So I love that tool to, again, just go through. We're just looking at text boxes and making those changes. Now, let's say you are like, I don't really love this, what this text box says over here. And I honestly don't even want that text box. Yeah, Paul, I'll show it to you in just 1 second. I don't want this text box over here, right? I want to completely get rid of it. Once I click on the text box, up here at the top right, I've got a bunch of different options. One of them looks like a trash can. So if I don't want that text box, I'm just going to click directly on the trash can. Text box is gone. If I clicked on the wrong text box and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was my bio, that's everything I want, I made a huge mistake, your favorite button is going to be up here at the top left. It's the undo button. I'm going to click on undo. that text box comes back. We're good to go. So Paul, let's say I wanted to go in, I want to use that typewriter feature again. Same thing. I'm just going to click directly on the text box, double click on that, and then you'll see at the top, it's right next to where the font size is. I have a little option right here that if I hover over it, it says typewriter. I can click directly on that. It shows me everything that's in the text box. I can get rid of everything there, make sure I hit save changes, and I'm going to save all of that right there. So do I have any questions from anyone on just changing out the text that is there? What we would want to make sure that we're doing again, and just for time, I'm not going to do it this way with you guys, but we would want to basically go page by page, look at all the text, make any changes that we want, just read through it to make sure it's showing accurate information and that it's what really need there. Yeah, Jamie, wish I would have known about the typewriter. It saves a lot of time. And I don't know, it's just easier than doing it with the text boxes. All right, let's talk about photos. So let's talk about photos that we can change, photos that we can customize. So I'm going to actually, let me go to a different page for this. So we will go to, let's find a page up here. I'm just going to move through a couple pages because I'm going to get out of the headshot one. I'll show you guys how to change that too, but I want to show you some other images and some really nice things that you have. So let's go in, see what I have here. Okay, perfect. Let's say I wanted to change this for some reason. Actually, bear with me, you guys. I'm just going to move a couple pages prior just so we can be on one that we might actually want to change. Perfect. Okay, great. All right, so this walks through your custom marketing plan. So we know how to change the text boxes. So we'll say we've come in, we've changed all the text boxes. But let's say that this photo down here, that's a stock photo, is a really beautiful home. But we're actually going in on a listing presentation for a really modern home, or we're going on a listing presentation in a neighborhood that has like a ton of young families. And we just want something that kind of represents the area or the potential listing that we're going into. So we can change this image to anything that we would like super easily. So we've got this image right over here. And then you'll see over here on the left, we've got 6 different icons over here that we can come in and make changes to. So the one right underneath, we're just in the template. So that's where we picked our first template, the listing presentation. The one directly underneath that just says images. So if I click on images, you'll see that by default, you'll have what we call your assets. You might have something there, you might not. Generally, these are going to be your headshots or something like that. We've got the first option here, which is add. So if you have, maybe you are friends with the people that you're going on the listing appointment for, and you actually have a photo of them in front of the house or something like that, and we want to take that photo and we want to drop that into the listing presentation, we could choose add. And then right here, it says drag and drop or click to upload an image. So if you have an image that is saved anywhere on your computer or whatever device you're using, we can click right there. It allows you to then browse from your computer, and we could upload any image that then we could use in here. But we're actually going to show something else that I think is a really nice thing that you all have access to that just isn't used that much. And that is under company. So if you go into company, you've got all of these different options. So these are stock photos that Keller Williams has essentially said you can use for any sort of marketing piece that you would like. All of these stock photos are available in any design that you're creating, not just the listing presentation. And you'll see they're broken down. So we've got miscellaneous ones. So once I pull those up, those are just kind of different ones dealing with maybe the home sale process. If we want to go back, we can always click on that back button. I've got holidays. I've got house interiors. I've got app images, which is more technology based. I've got lifestyle at home. So if I click on that, you'll see I've got a ton of photos that'll load of just different like at home activities, families, all kinds of stuff like that. So I can completely customize all of these that I'd like to. And then if I go back, I've got lifestyle activities, I've got neighborhoods, and I've got house exteriors. Someone told me one time in a marketing class, and I don't know how true this is, but somebody told me that we always want to use house interiors because it brings a comfort level. They feel as if they're like seeing the inside of the house, or they just feel more at home or more comfortable rather than an exterior. So I'm going to come in here to house interiors, and then I just might find one that I think, okay, that's kind of comparable to the home that I'm going on the listing appointment with, or it just looks nice and bright. So if I wanted to just replace this photo over here with one of these photos over here, all I'm going to do is basically click on the photo and then just drag it over, and it will replace that image immediately. So I can come in here, I can choose any of these photos from here. So let's say I thought, you know what, I actually, for this one, I want to do neighborhoods, and I want to find a neighborhood that looks kind of comparable. I could do the same thing, come in here. We could say, yep, this looks beautiful. We're going to drag and drop, and then we can replace the image really easily there. And again, these are all under company, so you can use any of these in any single design that you're creating. Postcards, things for social media, you've got all of these stock images that you can use. Any questions from anyone on just switching out the photos for that? I do have a couple questions. I'm just going to check chat. How do you put things into my assets? Sarah, that's a great question. So that's actually when we first log in to the designs section, you'll have my assets and you'll be able to add them there. Once we go out of this, I'll show you that. And then Brittany's asking a really great question. Do you customize each listing presentation to each client, or do you find you use a basic go-to presentation for all? Yeah, so Brittany, I think what the best practice to do is to kind of have that, I hate to even use the word generic, but we have like, this is my listing template, my listing presentation. And then I might find for this one, I want to go into page 1. Let's say the Smith family calls me and says, hey, we are maybe interested in putting the home on the market. I'm going to come in here, and on that first page where it says prepared for, I'm going to change that specifically. But generally, like custom marketing, how buyers find homes, about me, changing the numbers, like all of that is going to be the same no matter what listing presentation I'm going on. And then I'm going to customize the CMA. That's where really the work comes in. I'm going to do that CMA specifically for the listing presentation that I'm going on. All right. Any other questions on just adding photos or anything like that, you guys? We're good. Great. So I do want to talk about logos. So down here, we've got logos right here. Now you'll see when you go to the logos, you'll have the company logos, which you will probably not use that much. So we've got the KW logos right here, which are just really generic Keller Williams logos. So your market center is going to have their own set of logos that you want to make sure you get from your market center leadership. And then that can be added under the My Assets section, so that every time you need your market center logo, we can just drag and drop it. So let's say that I actually wanted, this logo, I wanted it on this page for some reason. I can do the same thing where I can just click on it and kind of drag it over to my presentation, or I can click the plus sign right here that says add logo, and then you'll see it's going to add it right in the middle right there. I think of text boxes and logos. Think of if we were using this on your smartphone, right? So we would, if we wanted to stretch it to make it larger, we would kind of just pull at the corners. If we wanted to make it smaller, we would do the same thing and just condense it in. If I wanted to grab it and I wanted this, but I wanted it at the top, we're just going to take it and drag it and drop it. We can move it right over here. And then again, you'll see if you hover over the sides, I get these little arrows. So we're going to think we're just almost like just pinching that in. So think of using your smartphone, and we're almost just pinching that in or making that larger when you're kind of looking at screens. And then we can do the same thing. We're just going to click on it. If we want to bring it up to the top right there, we can move that all around for that. So once we've made all of the changes that you really want, and we say, okay, this is my listing presentation template, I'm good with this, I'm ready to go, we've got a couple different options. So again, we're always going to come up here to file. And even though I've got that auto save, I'm going to make sure I press save. I want to get that saving right there, and then that saved confirmation. And then you'll see over here, I've got a couple options. One option right here says share. If I click on share, it says share this design as an image or share the project. We always want to share the project if we're going this route, and that's going to send it as a link. I don't know that you're going to do that this much for a listing presentation. Like I can't really think of where we would want to take our entire listing presentation and post it on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. So I'm actually not going to recommend you use that here. I'm going to recommend that you use the next option, which is download. And then with download, we get two options, or three options rather, excuse me. We can download as a JPEG, we can download as a PNG, or we can get it as a PDF. I'm going to choose PDF. And then I want to make sure right here that I've picked all pages. So I want to make sure that I'm downloading this as a PDF with all pages rather than the current page. If I just do the current page, it's just the one page that we're on. But remember, we have that really nice graphic that talks about how buyers find properties that we might want to use at for sale by owners or door knocking or something like that. If we just wanted to use that one page and download that and then print or email, we could pick just that one current page. So I'm going to pick all pages, and then I'm going to click that red button right here that says start download. And then I don't know if you noticed, but I got a quick confirmation that said we're downloading your file. So you might think, okay, we're done. We've downloaded it. We have to make sure I'm in Chrome. So my downloads are going to be at the bottom left. You'll see down here, I can't leave this page until this has been completely downloaded. Otherwise I have to come back and re-download it. So I'm going to open this real quick. And then we'll see how this came across as a PDF. Perfect. So I kept these pages, right? But as we go through, we'll see that we've got all of these different pages in here. We can download, we can print, depending on what you're using. We can remove pages from here. We can delete them. We can come in, make any changes that we want to it from here. If you're using this for maybe like a electronic, we could email it to ourselves. We could pull it up. We could use it in Google Drive as a presentation. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do it out there. We just need to make sure that we're downloading it first. And I do recommend before you print it, before you're saying, okay, we're ready to go, just download it and actually read through it yourself and just make sure there's no type, any spelling or grammatical errors or anything that you want to change around. So just make sure that we're taking a look at all of those things. If I just go back in to where we made the actual design, once we're done here, we're just going to, and again, just triple check that you've saved it. We're just going to click that done button right over here. So we're going to click done right there. It's going to give us a moment just to wait. And while that's pulling up, I saw in the chat that it says, can you duplicate this listing presentation and make it another address? Yeah, Cindy, that's a great question. So essentially, once you create a design template, then when we log into our designs in the very beginning, you'll see that we'll have everything right here. So all the designs that I just made. So let me go into print really quickly because that's actually what we created. So give me one moment. Because yes, you'll essentially have like, almost think of it as a copy of a copy of a copy of a listing presentation. And so when we go into print right here, this is the listing presentation that I just made. So I've got a couple options. If I hover over that, you'll see I get these three little buttons right here. I can rename it. So if I don't want this to be the name of it, if I completely mess that up, I can do that. I can make a copy of it. So Cindy, if I said, okay, well, this was for 123 Main Street, and now I've got a listing presentation for 789 Smith Street. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to make a copy of it because I want everything to be the same, except where I maybe change some details specific to the seller. I can do that. I can also delete it, but we want to make sure that we actually want to delete that prior to that. So this is where you'll essentially, the naming of this is important because this is how it's going to show. So we just need to make sure that we're actually going into the correct one for that. Any questions? Let me make sure. Can you duplicate this listing presentation? Yep, we answered that. How do we bring in another logo? Yeah, Cindy, that's a great question. So if you wanted to bring in a logo, all of those pull from, excuse me, one second. All of those pull from your assets. Give me one second. So we want to make sure that when we go into command in your settings right up here, that we've updated your marketing profile there. I can also come in, let me just choose a different thing here. Let me see if it lets me go in this way. But again, everything's going to pull from that marketing profile. So we just need to make sure that that's correct for that. How to change the DBA. Yeah. So Marcus, we can't change the DBA. We have to just pull in a different logo. So the logos are available on KW Connect. You can download all of your Market Center logos, and then you would just upload them into the design editor. So the DBA, as you see it, is just a placeholder. So just a suggested place of where we would do that. So what I like to do is when we go in to create any design, so I just went into social, but you guys could go in anywhere. You'll see we've got the templates right here. And then what we want to make sure we're paying attention to are the brand assets. And so if I click on brand assets right there, you've got a lot of really cool things that you can take a look at. So you'll see that the color palettes for almost all of the designs are going to be that red and gray and white and black, the KW stuff. But let's say that you do a lot of your transactions on the coast and you want like the background of your stuff to actually be more like blues and greens and kind of coastal. We can come in here and we can actually change that. We can also come in under logos. This is where we would make sure we're adding your Market Center logo, or if you have a team logo, and then those will always show up under your logos. We would just click upload right here, and then it'll allow you to upload that logo. Again, you can get the logos from your Market Center leadership. They'll have that for you. We've also got a thing called Smart Text, which essentially just we can come in here and say, this is my email address, this is my website, this is my this. So anytime it's reflecting that, it will be there. We've also got images. So that would be your headshot. If this is something you're no longer using, we can click on that. We can delete it directly from there. And then we've got elements, which I don't see a ton of people using. This is like stickers and designs. And then we've got some video things that is relatively new. I don't think we have really a ton of use for that. So again, we have to get into designs, and then we'll be able to go into assets. And it's just a one-time, add those logos, add your headshot, and then they'll always be available for you to bring that into any designs that you're making. All right, so I'm going to stop the share just real quick so I can see everybody and just see, we've got about 5 minutes left. So if there's anything I didn't cover or anything that you guys have questions about, or maybe I went a little bit too fast for you that you want me to jump into, I'm happy to do that. Just checking chat too. Nothing in there. Okay, great. Does anybody have any questions on anything we covered? Oh, Julie, thank you. I'm glad this was helpful. Happy to hear that. So just as a reminder, we would go in designs, then we're going to click the plus sign at the bottom right. We're going to choose print, and then we're going to go into listings, then listing presentation. We're going to pick whatever listing presentation template we want. And again, just work off of one. Don't recreate 5. You're just giving yourself more work. So pick the one that you want, remembering that the first 3 are the ones that have the consumer app page and the selling safely, the virtual tours and stuff like that. Then we'll go in. I think it's easier to kind of pull all the pages in that you want to use first. So we're designing, okay, I think I want these. And then we'll go in, make any changes to the text box, double click, use that typewriter field. It's a lot easier. And then add any photos, anything like that, make any changes to that, and then download, and you guys will be set. So my biggest tip would be do this now. Don't wait until I say it's the bat phone, right? Till you get a call on the bat phone of someone saying, come list my property. Because I don't know if you guys work this way, but when I know I'm up against a deadline or a rush, I'm like frantically trying to do it, and there's spelling errors and there's mistakes and all of these different things. So my biggest tip would be go do it now, have it, and then you're just having to do the work of the CMA when we schedule the listing presentation for that. So I hope this was helpful. I appreciate all of you guys being here. I do just want to pull up really quickly because we have classes like this that are every week, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. from 3 p.m. So the Zoom link that you use to get here, you'll use for every single workshop that we're offering every week. So next week on the 31st, let me just make sure I'm telling you guys correctly what it is. Oh, awesome. Next week is actually going to be an agent interview. So it's going to be an agent interview with an agent in our region that is using Command at a really high level and how they're using it to build their business. They closed bunch of deals last year and they only use command. So we'll actually be interviewing them and just how they use command and some best practices. It'll be very much a discussion, open Q&A questions. So please bring that. And then if you guys are on a team or run a team, just a reminder that I also do the same sort of workshop just on Thursdays for teams. So every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. is command for teams. And so we kind of break that down in different applets. If you're on a team, if you run a team, if you're a team admin, you're more than welcome to jump on those as well. So I'm so glad. Thank you. Learned. Okay, good. Oh, thank you. You guys are very sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. So it was a pleasure to spend a little bit of time with all of you guys today. Again, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. So I hope you'll come back next week. Bring a friend. Next week, we'll make this fun. And if there's anything specific you guys would like to see on the training calendar from the region, so if there's something specific in command that you really want some help with, pass that up to your Market Center leadership and they can pass that along to me because we just want to make sure that we're delivering whatever you all need in command for you. All right. Thank you guys for being here. Have an awesome day. Bye, everyone. Thanks for your time.